I'm streaming. Hope everyone is doing okay today. I had to turn on some extra lights in here. Looks okay now, but it's so dark and dreary. I had to at least pretend like it's a bright sunny day and use technology to help me do that with these lamps. I got a bunch of floor lamps set up here. Maybe next week I'll give you all a tour of my setup. I don't know if you care, but I think I'm pretty happy with what I set up here. Green screen solution for less than $10. Yeah, so hope you all are doing okay. I'm having kind of an unusual day. You can kind of see maybe. I've got some black stuff all over my hands because I was up on my roof working on the flashing around my chimney. It's going to rain a lot tomorrow probably, so wanted to fix a leak that I noticed up there. So I want to fix it before it starts raining so I can test and see if it leaks tomorrow when it really rains a lot. We'll see. But I couldn't. So it's that asphalt tar kind of caulk, and it's really sticky, and I forgot to wear gloves, so I've got that. I got a lot of it off my hands, but I was nailing the flashing to the chimney, and I was using these big masonry nails, which you have to hit really hard, and I missed one of them and really smashed my fingers. So I'm not going to show it on camera. It's kind of icky looking, but they're kind of purpley and numb right now. It kind of hurts still. I don't think I broke anything, but pretty close, I think. It hurts a bit. Hurts a bit to type. So I hope you're having a better day than I am. Not that it's terrible, but I've had better days. So yeah. Waiting a minute to let people get online. As you can see on the board today, we're in week 1, day 4, so this will be my last stream this week. Next week is Memorial Day, and that usually means that we have Monday off and then are supposed to make that up on Friday. We don't have regular class settings like face-to-face, but I think what I will do probably is take Monday off from streaming and do one on Friday instead. But I will send you an update over the weekend and probably on Monday with a few notes about week 2 and what's going to go on and maybe some things to get you started on. And then I'll stream Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday next week. And then the week after I'll be back to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then the week go on like that. So today, the agenda is I'm going to look at WordPress. I meant to do that yesterday, ran out of time, so I'm going to start with that today. And then we're going to look at digital creativity a little bit. And mainly I want to make sure that you're clear on what you need to do to complete the module and turning that in. And some of that has to do with actually working in WordPress. So that's what we'll do today. I really think this one might actually be shorter. That's what I always try for, and we'll see. As always, let me know if the stream quality changes, if you have any issues hearing, and of course I will archive this later so you can watch it after the fact or review it if you need to. So let's get started on some content for today. So here's, just switching over to my browser here. This is Canvas, of course. And let me minimize a few things so my CPU continues to work. So this is our, let me pull up the notes for today. The notes for today are kind of minimal or a bit less than normal because I want you to explore some things. And oh man, this is so inconvenient the way this is linking, but I can find it. Okay, here we are. So, day 4, the notes here. I do want to talk about digital creativity a little bit, but I kind of intend this more to be something you can work through on your own, which is to say I'd like for you to learn a bit about the other areas of creativity, the ones that you may not be actually focusing on for your own module work, just to understand what's out there. So the animated GIF, for example, this one, I really want you to understand and think about the animated GIF as an art form, and there's lots of different ways we can do that. You might be more familiar with like the reaction GIF, but this is a particularly, I guess, arty way of using a GIF, and it's this Tumblr blog, If We Don't Remember Me, and I believe this project has gone into hiatus or shut down, but so they don't post very frequently, but they the artist who makes does these really elegant loops from moments of film, and they're seamless. They are still, and they're very evocative often of a particular mood from a particularly intense scene in many cases. So it's a really interesting kind of film appreciation or film critique, and sometimes it's quite startling or funny or scary or creepy. I think probably most of them are creepy in some way, but I like that a lot. So it's just an example of how an animated GIF isn't just a clip, a video. It can be all these other things. There's a rhetorical use, of course, like in a reaction GIF, but in this case, it's more of an artistic use. So I'd really like for you to explore that and maybe find some others. These are sometimes called cinemagraphs, and there are apps you can use to make cinemagraphs, but I've, in my experience, found they don't do a very good job. To really make a cinemagraph as elegant and smooth as the ones you see here, it just takes a lot of really intensive pixel by pixel work, and it's tricky. I've attempted it, and the results weren't amazing. They were okay, but it's something that really just takes a lot of effort and skill. I did not mean to click there. Let me see. Goodness, this is this whole thing. Here we go. So also creative coding. I showed you some of my creative coding work yesterday, and I just thought it'd be useful to explore some other examples by people that I'm particularly inspired by, like Everest Pipkin and Darius Kazemi. So these are a couple of bots, Twitter bots that they've done. So check those out and explore some of their other work if you are interested in creative coding. I think the main thing I wanted to get across is like sometimes a creative coding project can just be beautiful, like it can just be something that looks nice, or it can be something kind of jokey or like based on a reference, and that's what the roof slapping bot's about. For digital audio, I don't know if you listen to a lot of podcasts. If you don't, this might not be the module for you, I guess, but podcasts are an emerging and I think prolific form. Like lots of people are making podcasts, and some are better than others, and I mentioned some of my favorites here, the ones I listen to frequently. Here's one I discovered recently called The Slowdown, which is poetry, and the episodes are relatively short, sometimes like 10 minutes long, and what the person who hosts this does, and I don't remember her name, she reads poetry. She talks about a particular poet and reads one of their works, and that's it. But it's really compelling and really interesting, and I like the way that it slows you down and forces you to listen. And it's well produced and edited, but it's mainly just about that content and getting that forward. So interactive fiction, I demonstrated that a little bit, and I think the best way to learn more about interactive fiction is to try it. So I've linked you here to one that was made by a student last year, Cameron, and what you can do is you click on run the game, and then you begin, and then you work your way through it. This is the kind of thing you can create. She did this with Twine. She did a little bit of extra work to make it look the way it looks and add some functionality to it. Some things beyond what I showed you yesterday, but it's certainly things that you can, certainly something you can do. And this is her example of that. So I encourage you to work your way through that, and then also just kind of go to twinery.org to try some more out. Typing still hurts, even that much hurts. Explore some things here that are also made with Twine. One that came up a minute ago when I was doing this is an episode of the TV show Black Mirror, something you may have seen if you watch Black Mirror. They did an episode called Bandersnatch, which was written in Twine first before they filmed it. And so it's actually an interactive fiction work in some ways. When you watch it on Netflix, you have to make choices at key moments, and you use the remote to make a choice, and you take different routes, kind of like the old Choose Your Own Adventure books. And it turned out pretty well, I think, for the interactive film. Interactive film is always very challenging. Throughout the history of film, people have tried different things to make film interactive and usually not been very successful. But I thought this one worked pretty well. Okay, so the main thing I want to talk about today, as I said, was WordPress. So that's all I wanted to do with digital creativity per se. But I just want to remind you about the logistics of this digital creativity module, and then I'll show you a little bit about what you need to do when I get into WordPress. So working on your module, the assignment page has a fairly long description of this, but I wanted to call out a few key phases here, or things that you need to make sure you've done. And I mean, they're all kind of written in here, but I know whenever you write a lot, it's kind of hard to pull out the big details. So I did that here, just to make it clear that you need to have, you are responsible for 4 separate things as you work on this module. So first is going to be an introductory post on your blog. The second is going to be a concluding post on your blog, and you can do more than that, but at least 2. Because if you remember in the normal face-to-face version of this class, this takes 2 weeks. So you do one of these posts at the beginning of those 2 weeks and the other at the end. You're probably going to do this all on the same day. So you do have to compress that a little bit, but I still think that pre and post moment is really important. So I want you to do that. While you're working, I would like for you to contribute to Slack, and contribute to Slack in the channel that's specific to that module. So you will find in that channel other people that are working on the same module. Share your work in progress with them, or ask questions if you get stuck, and try to use that time to collaborate if you can. Not formally, of course, but just informally supporting each other is an important thing to do. Again, I imagine many of you will be doing this tonight or tomorrow, and that's fine, but having that moment there where you're all working on something similar can be a great way to support each other, and also to help push you outside of your comfort zone. So if you're trying something you've never done before, finding other people that are also trying something they've never done before can help you commiserate a little bit, and often help you be more successful. So do that, and then finally post a short video. Now this can be short. It should be short, please. No more than 90 seconds. And this is the moment where you share what you did. And that idea of sharing is another kind of reflection, because it forces you to explain it. And something that you made and made sense to you may find out it takes a bit more to explain it to someone else. And that's what I'm really interested in with this project. So record a short video, and I haven't really talked about how to do a video, but I imagine you can find a way, but if not, I can make recommendations. If you have a Mac, you can use QuickTime to record a screencast and just talk over it. You don't actually have to appear on camera, but you can. You can do that with QuickTime if you'd like to on a Mac. If you're on Windows, there's something called Screencast-O-Matic that I can recommend that works pretty well from what I've heard. I don't have a Windows machine at the moment to test that, but I've heard people use Screencast-O-Matic pretty well. I think you can even use YouTube to record directly if you want to just talk to the camera if you have a webcam. If for some reason, like technologically, you can't figure out how to do the video, let me know so I can help you figure out a way to do it, or find some alternative, and I'm sure we can figure something out. But the idea of sharing is important, so I want you to take that moment to share what you did, but keep it short, right? Keep it brief. Also, this will be a good way for me to hear from you all. Like, you've all seen me and heard me by now, but I haven't seen or heard you. So this is something I do value, because I want to see who I'm talking to. I want to have a sense of who's out there. Okay, so the final thing I'll say about the creativity modules here, digital creativity, is to remember to push yourself. I mean, really, I am more interested in you trying something hard and coming up and maybe not necessarily producing the greatest product than I am in a great product. So if this is something that you already know how to do, like you've already made a bunch of GIFs, either push yourself to make a new kind of GIF, or maybe choose a different module. If digital audio is your jam already, and you already know how to do that, then maybe choose a different one. I'm more interested in you doing something that forces you to learn a new process or learn a new platform than I am in you making an excellent product. This is much more process than product, and so that's why the Slack contributions are important. That's why the pre and post reflections are important. So yeah, make sure you do that. That's really what I really want to see here. If you do this and you're done in 10 minutes, you probably didn't do enough. Like, this is more something that should take you a bit of time to work on, and so I want to see you pushing yourself. That's what's really going to be the biggest indicator of success. Okay, so if you have questions about that, of course, let me know. Again, as usual, I have the Slack channel open for the live stream chat, or you can ask questions on Twitch if you'd like. So, okay, so that's all I wanted to say about digital creativity, except I will have one or two comments once we get into WordPress. So let me get into WordPress. Now, as you recall, I installed WordPress using Installatron in domain of one's own, and if you did it that way, then there are two ways you can get to your WordPress dashboard. And that WordPress dashboard is what you need in order to create content. So I've already installed it here, as you see, and this is my Installatron thing. There's kind of a window within a window. It's a little confusing to show you, but this is umw.domains, and then I'm logged into my cPanel. And on this first tab, it says My Applications. As you see, I've got quite a few, but the one in question, the one that I've created to demonstrate things for you all, is somewhere down here. Here it is. Okay, so I can get to my dashboard by clicking this WP admin link, or because I set it up with a username and password that I actually know, I can log into it directly. And that's what I've done over here, actually. But this is the WordPress dashboard. So this is WordPress, and this is where you're going to be spending your time as you write things for this class and as you post things on the web and start building content on your website. You may be doing this in a subdomain, or you may be doing it in your front page, or even a subdirectory. It doesn't really matter. WordPress is going to work the same wherever you put it. Just the way that you share things will be a little different depending on where you put it. So a couple of points, I guess. Some of you were asking about like what you need to post on your blog versus what you need to submit in Canvas. Keep in mind that everything that you are putting on your website is public. You should write it that way. You should think of a general audience whenever you publish things there. But that's a choice you should be thoughtful about as you put things out there. If there's something that I've asked you to do for an assignment that you would rather not put out there online, you should know you have the option to just submit that directly in Canvas or send it to me directly somehow. That's always an option. But the default here is that it's open. Like the default is that you're going to put it on your website unless there's some reason not to. So think about what that means. Think about what you want to share, what you want people to see. One thing to keep in mind as you write, and when you're creating posts, this is where you would be writing things, is that the general audience of the public, they have no idea that you're taking this class, or that I've asked you to write a Hello World post, or that you're working on a creativity module. So you should make sure to include an explanation of what you're doing when you are writing about them. Keep that in mind. Also, keep in mind, like, a title does a lot. A title does a lot to create your post and get people interested in it and help you understand what it's about. So absolutely do not do this. Do not call your first blog entry blog number 1 or something like that, because that number 1 has no context, that has no meaning, no semantic value at all. So instead, say something like a first initial thoughts. Come on, typing is not working that well for me still. About digital creativity, something like that. And then in your post, you might need to say something like, in my digital studies class, we're learning about digital creativity. Specifically, I'm interested in blah, blah, blah. And then you go on from there. So this is, by the way, the WordPress is what's called the Gutenberg editor or the block editor. It's the default editor now, and it's fairly new, but I do like it now that I'm kind of used to it. Okay, but think about, so this is a good start, I would say, for a blog post about digital creativity. Of course, you should write it in your own voice. This is my voice. But a couple of things you can do here. If you remember when we read Vannevar Bush's essay, the big insight, the big thing that he's doing there is saying that documents need to be connected to other documents. It's not just that we have access to all the documents, but we need to know how they relate to each other. We need to give them a context. So that's something that you should be doing as well. Anytime you write a blog entry, you should include links. And there are several things already just in this sentence here that I think could benefit from being links. So first of all, digital studies. So this is something that you could do as maybe digital studies class. Select a phrase that relates to the thing that you want to send people to, and then highlight it, click the chain icon, and then type where you'd like to send them. Typing is hard. And that's what you got to do. So that's a link. When you talk about animated GIFs, if you find that you use a particular tool, link to that tool, and as you describe it, make that text a link. A couple of things you should really avoid whenever you're linking is things like this. I'm going to do it the wrong way here to show you what not to do. On digital studies at UMW. And then type, actually the block editor sort of forces you not to do these things, but you should never write a URL like this directly in the text part, the part that people will actually see. This is not clickable for one thing, so if someone reads this and they're like, oh, this is interesting, they would have to highlight, copy and paste, and maybe they highlighted wrong, or maybe they, didn't feel like doing it, so they're not going to do it. That's more work. You want to think about ways to save your reader steps and clicks, and that's that's a good thing to keep in mind. So I'd recommend do not do that. I also don't recommend making the link, making the URL clickable. Even that's redundant. Like we know that's that's there, but we shouldn't see the HTTP. Like that's not useful. When actually, I see I mistyped that. You need the colon. That is important. I think if you do the colon, like if you type it correctly, you will automatically make it a URL like this. But again, that's still the wrong way to do it. I don't recommend it. Even worse, click here to learn. Not even worse, but also not great is this kind of thing. Click here. You do still see people writing this way. I don't recommend it. It's not maybe as bad as just pasting a raw URL, but it is awkward and redundant. You want to instead write your sentence the way you want to write it, and then make part of that text a link to the thing you want to link to. And that's all there is to it. So within the block editor, there's a few other things you can do that might be useful. There's different formatting things which can be interesting, different headings, block quotes if you want to quote somebody. You've also got an image, like you can upload images here. You can upload them directly or insert them from URLs if they're already online. So yeah, I mean, have fun with that. I mean, think about the web as a place to be multimodal, so to write content that does multiple things at once. Let's see, what else? I guess you can do, so some themes have what's called a featured image, and this one does, I believe, and that will create kind of a banner at the top. I recommend that if your theme supports it. It looks nice. So I'm going to try to find one here that is not super awkward. I'm going to find an image if I can. I've been doing a lot of these, so I should have some. Okay, okay, here's one. So this is an image I took of Ball Circle, and I've been using it as a background for Zoom sometimes when I want to have a meeting and look like I'm on campus. So this is Ball Circle. So there are some things to fill in here. We should say alt text, which is going to provide a description of this image in case someone can't see it. It's a picture of typing circle at UW. And the alt text and the description here can be the same in this case. And set the featured image. So let's see what this looks like so far. Okay, this is pretty good. I don't know. That image is kind of big. I would probably shrink that a bit or crop it to make it a little bit less dominant, but you can see what this is doing here. Depending on the theme you've chosen, I'll show you themes in a minute, that header image may appear in different places or it may not appear at all actually. That's up to the theme. Themes are developed independently, so they have different settings and options within them. So I don't know, but that's the featured image in this default theme that I'm using. Okay, so this is actually a good point to show you something that is an easy mistake to make whenever you are submitting something in Canvas or trying to share it in Slack. So let me go here and pretend that I'm going to submit this work. Actually, let me switch to student view so it looks like the way you see it. Okay, so let's say I'm done with my creativity assignment. I'm going to go ahead and submit it. So let me find the assignment page for digital creativity, and let's say that this was my post about it, right? Now you might be tempted, and I'm going to show you this is the wrong way, to submit the URL by copying and pasting what we see here. Copy. And then submitting it, where is it? Not here. Here, hit submit assignment and then submit by URL, and there we go. You might think, oh, I'm done. And Canvas says, hey, you're done. That's great. However, there is a problem, and let me show you what it is. This post is not published yet. I can see it because I'm logged into my website and I wrote it and I am myself. So you, in a similar circumstance, would be able to see your post. However, if you tried to click on this URL right now, you will not be able to access it because I have not published it yet. So this, and you can see that that's the case if you look in the URL. There's actually a lot of information in URLs. So this says preview equals true. That means that I am previewing this page right now. I'm not actually seeing what the public side of this is. So I need to do two things. I need to publish this first, and then I need to copy the permalink or the public URL. So hit publish, and you can see the, yes, those are good. I just realized my head was probably covering up the featured image widget. It's in the bottom right, and I think you'll probably be able to see that okay. But hopefully you can see here, there's two links here to view post, and then there's one to copy link. They've actually even made it easy enough to do that. So either way, but let's try viewing post first, and then there we are. This is the post, like, looks the same as it did when I previewed it, but now I can see that the URL is complete. and there's no question mark preview equals true part of it. And this is the permalink that I can actually submit. So you should always double check that. If you do submit the preview link, often I can figure it out and kind of find it, but if you haven't published, I can't. And so I will definitely ask you to publish it and fix that. But think of that whenever you share it in Slack or any other cases as well. Make sure that it's the link that people can actually see. And that's important. Okay, so another quick thought about Slack while I'm thinking of it. This is sort of a tangent, but something that I haven't seen anyone do yet, so maybe you don't know that you can do it, is you can respond to people's messages in Slack, and you can see me hovering over to here, with reactions, and sometimes that's quicker and easier than typing something out. And it's often it's the kind of the way things are done in this kind of environment. So if you so like for example, so Samantha pointed out here that 2 of the links in the interactive fiction post don't work, and so that's great. And so I posted, thank you. But you can also just click a reaction and say, thank you. That's another way of sort of acknowledging that you've read someone's post and approved it. And the nice thing about these reactions is, like, sometimes it is kind of hard to think of the right thing to type back and to convey the right tone. And sometimes an emoji does that much better. And so it's a good way to very quickly react to something, even if it's just to acknowledge, a way to say thanks, right? So if you ask me a question and I answer it for you, instead of typing thank you so much, you can just hit, the thumbs up, and that's fine. You can also do those in posts like right here, if you want to. But that doesn't do as much. I think the reaction emoji is really key. A lot of other platforms now support this, like Twitter even, and Facebook. So you probably are used to doing this anyway, but just get in that habit there because it conveys that you are participating in that conversation. There's actually quite a lot of, it's a pretty extensive emoji keyboard available in Slack, and you can even add your own. So, go ahead if you feel like it. Squirrel. So I don't know why the squirrel is, it's not, I think it's actually not a squirrel, I think it's a groundhog. But, they're basically the same. Okay, so just a thought there, just don't forget to try that out and take advantage of what the platform lets you do. Okay, how are we doing on time? Okay, not too bad. I just have a few more things I want to show you in WordPress. So let's get into a couple more. So I kind of showed you how to blog just now, and so I'm going to show you some more generic setup kinds of things that you should be doing and thinking about in WordPress. So let me get back to the dashboard part. So over on the left, you've got posts, you've got media where you can upload images and other things. You've got pages where you can add content. So that's kind of the working with it things. So let me talk, I want to show you a couple of plugins that are crucial, that are really, really important, and then talk about themes maybe a little bit or some settings. So take a look at plugins, and plugins add extra functionality to your website. They, in some cases, are very helpful. In some cases, they're just kind of silly. And you can search for new plugins by going to add new, and you can find all kinds of them. As you can see, the most popular one that's recommended, over 5 million installations, is Akismet, and I absolutely recommend Akismet. In fact, it's already installed when you first install WordPress. It's made by the same company that makes WordPress. So they really want you to use it, and I agree, you should use it. So you have to do a couple things with it, though, to actually use it. Akismet is going to block spam, and since you are now the owner of the website, you are responsible for dealing with spam. So if you get a lot of spam, it can be a pain to delete it. You may not have any yet, you probably don't, but if your site gets targeted by one of these spam bot things, you might have 200-300 spam comments a day to delete, and that's annoying. So let's let Akismet delete those for you preemptively. So you do have to set up an Akismet account, and I want to show you there's a couple things about this that are a little bit tricky. So not tricky, but can be a little bit confusing. So let me show you how to do this. This is actually, I need to log into it, but I'll show you what it looks. This is what you would see when you first access it, which is set up a Akismet account. You scroll down and you think, oh man, I got to pay money for this. You do not. This is actually free, but they are very happy for you to pay for it. But let me show you the option that you have to make sure you select. So go get started with personal, and here you should Now I'm going to log into mine, so I'm going to go back a screen, but when you get here, they ask you for your details. As you see, they're asking for payment details, but watch this, you don't actually have to pay. So here's the slider, $36 a year. Okay, you know, that I understand that they have a business model, but maybe that's not what I want to pay. Like, so you can actually take this and slide it left and right. And if you slide it all the way to 0, it takes away the payment stuff. Or if you go this way, look how happy that guy gets. He's very happy to take $120 a year, $10 a month. But if you don't feel like paying that, you don't have to. Go all the way to 0, and that's totally fine. Especially in your case, you guys are setting these up for the first time probably and just sort of trying things out, so this totally makes sense in terms of what they're doing. Okay, so this part you would, of course, fill out your stuff that's specific to you. I'm actually going to log into my account so that I can show you the part that I need to do to set mine up. And I have to look up my password on my other computer here. I use a password manager. I recommend that you do that as well. Oh man, this is a long one. So I use a password manager, Dashlane, and it generates passwords for me so I don't have to remember them. And oh, actually, maybe I can just log in with Google. This might work. So it generates really long passwords so that I don't have to remember them, and also I don't accidentally share it with somebody. And it's a good practice for security, but it also means that I have this 34-character password of random characters. Okay, anyway, so this is now my Akismet API key. Maybe I shouldn't actually show this on the stream, but this is probably fine. This is what I need to go back to. 1 second, Samantha, I saw your question. This is what you need when you go into Akismet, and you can, if you choose this manually enter key method. Now, if you go through the setup button, like if you click this setup Akismet account and then go through that whole process, it should take you back into your dashboard and add the key automatically. But ultimately, you should get to this screen where it says Akismet is now protecting your site from spam. Happy blogging. So once you see that, you're done with Akismet. And Samantha, that's your domain / subdomain where WordPress is hosted. And I don't recall, so I don't know if that's, I think, I'm trying to remember what yours is, but it's, no, I have it somewhere. Let me see. So I believe, I think you're using a subdomain. Anywhere, once for each WordPress installation. And you can use the same API key for both, but you do need to set up Akismet for both. Like for both of them, they'll have a Akismet that's installed, and you need to activate it, and then you need to use give it an API key. So yeah, just use the same API key for both, and you can copy and paste it. It's this like 12-digit number or character string. So just put that in there. Okay, so any more questions about Akismet, let me know. You should definitely have Akismet installed. Now, a couple other things. Another plugin that I like, there's two more that I like that I recommend. Jetpack is good. I'm not going to install it now just because it takes a bit. Jetpack is very similar to Akismet in that it is produced by the same company that makes WordPress. And it also is free unless you feel like paying for it, but there is a way to get it, to just say, I don't want to pay right now, and you don't have to. Jetpack adds a lot of functionality to your website, and it's kind of heavy-handed, I think, honestly, but I think it's a pretty good thing to do. It adds several other plugins. That's a good one. Another one, though, that I really recommend is something called WordFence, and this will help secure your website even more. It creates kind of a firewall. And I'm not sure what you mean by that, Samantha, but the WordFence, this is the one that we're looking at. There's a couple other WordFence things, but this one, WordFence Security Firewall and Malware Scan, it just is another layer of protection. One thing it does is if there is an IP address out there, somebody's computer trying to brute force hack your website, WordFence will stop it, and then it'll tell you, hey, somebody was trying to hack your website, and like, here's their IP address. And so sometimes that's pretty interesting to see. I get a lot of people from Brazil trying to hack my site, so I don't know why. I mean, usually hackers, just in general, Brazil and Russia are the two biggest sources of, or just Eastern Europe in general. That's where you're going to see people trying to hack you from. So I'm not sure where I'm not sure what that means. HTML is the fundamental language that all of this is running in. Do you mean in the editor? So I'll show you that the text editor does have the HTML option. So this is the Gutenberg. This is called the Gutenberg or the block editor. And whenever you add a block, there's different kinds of blocks you can add, and one of them is the HTML style block. It's somewhere in here. I do often write in HTML just because I find it cleaner and I'm used to it, but if you're not, then I understand how that would not be as convenient. So anyway, Samantha, if you can clarify that question, maybe I can try to answer it, but I'm going to move on with a couple other things in WordPress. So one thought is, you are writing this blog for this class and you are putting your ideas out there. You may not necessarily want to have a conversation on your site. You may not want people commenting on your site, and that's a very reasonable choice to make. Many people, therefore, choose to disable comments on their blog. Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. You should that should work. HTTPS. If you mean that Akismet is asking you to provide the HTTPS version of it, then that's fine. It should work on our server. Although as I look here, I don't see that it looks like it's not working on mine at the moment. But yeah, HTTPS is going to be encrypted, and I'm not sure why my connection is not actually encrypted. I might need to look into that more, because that should be encrypted. You can tell it's not in my browser because there's the lock icon with a line through it. So it means that I tried to make it encrypted. So it's hiding it, but I have typed in HTTPS here. It's just that the secure part of that, there's a certificate that you're supposed to be able to connect to, and that certificate was invalid or missing. That's usually what happens there. So I need to figure out. I need to look into that. I've been meaning to look into that anyway, but I'll let you know. But I think Akismet will work either way. So let's talk about disabling comments. It has been the case occasionally that students writing for DGST 101, or more often whenever I've had classes all blogging together, so we put out a lot of content, have been trolled or visited by people who felt like they needed to correct things that we were saying, and got pretty annoying, and frankly needed to be blocked ultimately. That was pretty annoying, and if you'd rather just not deal with that stress, it's okay to just block people or just to disable comments. You have no obligation to be a platform for anyone else. Sometimes people will complain about this is a free country and I have free speech, but really that only applies to government censorship. It doesn't apply to you on your blog. You are the dictator of your blog, so you can delete whatever you feel like. Or just kind of block it entirely. If people have something to say, they can get their own site. So the place you can do that, and I saw that, Samantha, let me finish what I was saying about comments and then I'll get into that. The place to turn off comments is you have to do kind of two things. So you have to go to discussion settings, and you can see that this is the default setup. So this is now, all of these things here relate to letting people comment. If you uncheck these, now that will prevent people from adding comments on any new content that you create. You have to go down here to save that, and that now has applied that setting. So that's good. However, I'm not done yet. So if you visit the site, you'll see that this post that I made a minute ago, that still has a comment field on it. The Hello World post that this site came with, there it is, click on the right link, also includes a comment and the comment field. That's because the setting that I just changed in discussion here has only applies to things that are coming in the future. It does not apply retroactively. So you have to go into each post and each page. Both posts and pages can have comments, and you have to disable comments on them individually. So this is something you should do now before you have a bunch of posts, because otherwise you'd have to go through and do it all one at a time. So you have to, where's my sidebar? Oh, it's because I have two different windows open. And wanted to just edit the post. Why can't I edit it? Darn. Okay, there it is. This side thing. You have to go down here to this document, switch over to document, and then down here where it says discussion, you have to uncheck these two boxes, and that will disable comments on this post. So that's what you got to do. Okay, so I recommend that, honestly. It's just better. So okay, so so this could be from, is this from A Kismet perhaps? Yeah, I think that's, yeah, like I said, I think I need to figure out how to set that up. There's something to do in cPanel, and I don't remember what it is, so I would need to look at that. I'll try to look at that now, but I will probably need to do a bit more research because I have not looked at this for a while. So let's see, because it says, no, okay, maybe actually I just noticed the other site, my elsweb.org site, has the certificate on it, but this one does not. So yeah, I need to look into that, but that's basically, it's a recommendation, and oh, maybe this is it. Oh, maybe this is it. Although it looks like it has them for everything, so I don't know. But that's the idea. It's a recommendation, and if you can't do it or don't feel like doing it now, that's okay. You know, the main reason for having HTTPS is if you're having people submit, or if you are typing in things like bank details or Social Security or anything that could be intercepted by a third party, and that would be a problem for you. That's something that's where HTTPS is really important. In your case, it's probably not super important, but it is best practice. Like it's something to do. But if I can figure that out, I will pass that along. Okay, so I just want to, I know I feel like I'm getting long, so I want to just look at a couple more things with WordPress. Really just one more thing. And that is under appearance. So I mentioned briefly that themes are different, and that they sometimes will allow different things with the featured image. And themes are developed by third-party people, and some are developed by the same company that makes WordPress. There's a company called Automatic. But sometimes, they're just made by random people. Like you can make your own. I've worked on one. It was the one that, I've made several just for my own use, but I haven't actually published any of them. But yeah, it's something that you can just sort of shop for here. There are themes you can pay for, but like anything else, it's better to find free ones if you can. And you can search for things you can filter by feature if you know what kind of site you're looking for. Like if you want to do kind of a portfolio site or a photography-oriented site, those tend to look nice and be very kind of image forward. You can find quite a few here. This one looks pretty good, just at a glance. What you'll find is that they often take some work. So this is kind of their demo of it, but to actually make it look like this, you might need to do a bit of work and setup, but that's pretty nice, not too fancy. I don't care for the way that the posts are kind of wiggling into place. I find that pretty annoying. I don't like that bar, that line moving across. I think that's annoying. But so in fact, I'm not going to use this theme. But you may prefer that. If you like that, then go for it. This one looks pretty good. And yeah, so this is, as you can see, the thumbnail here and then the preview look a little different. Again, you often will have to set these up. So let me show you what it looks like when you set these up. So I've installed it. I need to activate it as well. You can do all this right in here now. And this is now what my site looks like. So if I go back to this post, if I refresh it, it should look pretty different now. And it does, based on this new theme. Kind of busy looking, but not too bad. And now that I'm here, I can customize this with different things. Now, the things that it makes possible are in some cases specific to the theme. And so in this one's not too fancy, but some of these do have pretty fancy settings that you can apply and adjust and play with. And you may find yourself getting stuck with one of those, or it doesn't do what you want, or you can't find the thing to do what you need to do. I might be able to help you with that, but a lot of it just, there's so many themes out there, I may or may not have ever seen this particular theme that you're interested in. But I definitely recommend working with or trying out a different theme. It makes it look like you put some thought into your look and you want to make it look special or specific to you, so it's a good idea. People recognize the default WordPress themes. They're very popular. I mean, WordPress is very popular, and so everybody that has installed a WordPress site will recognize the default themes when you see them. So I recommend choosing something else and then customizing it a bit to make it your own. And that's a good way to explore WordPress and get used to using it. Okay, so I think that's all I want to cover for now for WordPress. There are probably other things that will occur to me, and I will share them with you as they do occur to me. But I think that's a pretty good bit of streaming for today. A little bit shorter than usual, but still kind of long. Sorry about that. Of course, you can play this back at double speed if you'd rather kind of get through it. Okay, so this will be our last stream for the week. Again, everything is due tomorrow by midnight, so try to get it in if you can. If you need it to be a little bit later, that's okay, but don't fall behind because we will be moving on into some new content next week. So I will probably send some messages over the weekend or Monday to kind of update you about the week ahead next week and get you ready for that. But otherwise, keep working on things. I know many of you are still working through and trying to get your site set up, your domain set up maybe, and WordPress. So whatever step you're at with that, please let me know. I'm happy to help. Don't worry about being behind yet. Just make sure you keep working. Okay, well, I'm going to wrap up the stream. Thanks for watching, and have a good afternoon and good Memorial Day weekend. Bye.